sign this.
Well, I don't do
It's all from here up, and I'm going Friday to the office. I'll give you some.
I took the,
Board change purposes.
I took the,
And most of
I think
them.
Had enough initiatives.
Very small.
yesterday.
I took
Slow process.
the other night,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I couldn't sleep.
And he's
I
the
finally got
one
up and took a Benadryl.
Well,
and
you
sleep.
can look yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Mine is.
She goes all the time.
Oh, yeah,
She
yeah,
has
yeah,
to run the meeting, yes.
Yes.
Kim calls the meeting about her.
I know, I figure if there's no chair, vice chair, I think
No.
somebody
Yeah,
should
you can
know.
have it morning in your coffee and your.
Thanks to you, welcome, doing that.
No,
Now we go
I
vote.
took the email.
Yeah.
But I don't.
Because you need somebody to vote.
All right, we're almost there, 4:59. Almost.
Let's do the pledge of allegiance, just talk slow.
We can do that.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to turn the meeting over to the town administrator until we organize the select board.
All right. So first item is the oath of the select board members, Jason and Allison, and they have already done their oath. So we can move right on to the select board organizational meeting. So I am asking if there are any nominations for select board chair.
Nominate David King.
Second.
Any other nominations? No? All right. Everybody agree in favor, or
All those in favor?
all those in favor?
Favor?
All right, David King,
Thank you.
meeting is now yours.
And I will take nominations for vice chairman.
Oh, Jason Shaw?
Second.
Oh, you gonna do that? Sorry.
Those in favor of that? Okay. Third order of business tonight is the approval of printed minutes for the previous two meetings.
I move the minutes be approved as written for 12/6 and 12/20.
Second.
Any corrections, deletions, additions, or anything? Seeing none, those in favor? Yeah, I'll take just a second to sign those.
Those are as revised, I assume.
Yes.
Selectmen's comments, Tom.
Yeah, so, following up with the roof RFP from last meeting, I promised I would go and look at one of the contracts I had, so I've supplied everybody with a laundry list of the things that were in that contract, so we can add that to what we were looking at last time for the RFP for the roof. The Get Ready grant, project that would enhance the meeting room, making it more accessible for streaming and videotaping. The vendor's been paid and the equipment's been ordered and everything is on track. There's going to end up being network jacks in the back of this room and network jacks near the conference table in the basement meeting room. Those two places will now have a network plug to plug the meeting equipment into. And tomorrow I'm attending the Community Action Grant webinar, and I'll learn a lot more about the new phase of resilience grants. And I saw in the news that Alma is also doing that. And there's an interesting survey they've given to their citizens to ask about what their concerns are. So we may want to consider doing something similar. I'll find out more tomorrow. But that's it.
Actually, Danny's not here, but I wanted to recognize Danny Everts for showing up at the State House this morning along, representing Woolwich Fire EMS. It was a resolution honoring the response of first responders to the Lewiston shooting. So I thought that was great.
That's it?
That's it.
I think Chad's here. I've talked to Allison about this before. During the windstorm, there was a section on Woolwich that was completely blocked off. We had no cell phone, we had no landline, we had no power, we had nothing, and we couldn't get help if we needed it. We need to do something about the cell phone service in the north end of town.
I thought didn't they just add another tower? I thought they did
So,
something to it.
I will comment on that. AT&T during that storm lost 120 towers in the state of Maine.
They lost what?
120 tower sites.
I mean, they-
At the initial start of that storm.
Really?
We were notified of that at dispatch. Maine EMA actually notified all the counties about that, but it took almost the whole week for them to get that back up. But that probably is, I'm sure that's a contributing factor, so,
Oh, I'm sure.
that's a lot of sites.
Our
No,
cell
I
phones,
completely understand.
I mean,
I didn't have any at
you
home.
better than anybody else knows where the trees were down.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And there was no way to get where we live, or Chad, I mean, it just, we were completely blocked right off. And like I say, if somebody got hurt, or a house had got caught on fire or something, we'd have been there by ourselves.
I have a question. So, are you guys getting, I'm looking at John, but, hi Chad. Are you guys getting, aren't you getting some new communication stuff, so at least you guys would have?
Yeah, dispatch is in the process of the communications upgrade for the county.
Yeah.
It's probably a 3-year project. We're a third of the way through it right now.
And that includes new towers, right?
Radio communication towers.
Okay.
It doesn't have anything to do with cell
Not
phone
cell
service.
towers.
Doesn't
Right.
have cell service at all, but
But
that'll help us with radio communication.
But aren't you also getting cell phones too? No? Am I making that up?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, okay.
No.
But you,
A lot of, the problem is a lot of cell companies won't let us on their towers. Some will, but some don't wanna
Yeah.
play nice, or some,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. But, so that's
Yeah.
the problem. But where the county's building, I don't remember, I think it's 7 additional sites, so we're gonna have 13
Yeah.
sites.
Yeah.
is Woolwich already been chosen? I mean, do you know
I believe, yeah, Woolwich is in the process. I don't know which
where
what
they-
site they ended with. I think they said Shaw Road, I think. I think Shaw Road is gonna be the site, but.
That's not
Oh,
gonna
that-
work.
No, I didn't know if they were.
Oh, we don't,
And-
for
and-
communications,
Yeah.
for radio communications wise, we're gonna have such good coverage after this is done.
Okay.
I'll be able to go to the Dresden town line and talk on my portable, no problem. I'm confident in that.
For radio.
For radio.
Not cell.
Yeah.
I mean,
The other concern too is that Consolidated has never put batteries in any of the backups here in town.
really?
Yeah, they're all generator.
Usually, I mean, there was a time when all those little boxes you see on the
Fairport
corners
used to-
had all kinds of batteries in them,
Yeah.
and they,
It's
so,
funny
your
you say that.
landline would stay working even when the power went out.
It's funny you say that. Larry Albert, his road, Old Stage Road, he filled that generator all week, so he would have a phone, a phone. Because
Wow.
Consolidated filled it up, let it run, and it ran out, and that was it, and never filled it back up.
When this
They
came up,
they have very few generators too.
when this came up, I don't know, it was last year, year before, I did reach out to the state and I got this explanation, basically that it's, private industry. That unless the company, I don't have it right in front of me, but I can pull that back up. I'd be happy to reach out again,
Sure.
but my guess is that without a market, a sufficient market, they're not,
Right. They'll put towers up along Route 1 all day long,
yeah,
but they don't wanna go out and,
right, because it
I
doesn't
mean, it's
have.
like
a
nobody
pop-
uses 127.
Yeah,
I'm sure that we have enough resources in this town, if a house caught on fire, we'd get the fire trucks there one way or the other. I mean, I think there's-
is, David, we can't tell the house is on
Well, that's the thing, that was what the other half of my sentence was gonna be, if we knew that the house was on
Yeah.
fire. I mean, I don't know how we'd know if somebody couldn't call us or anything, but,
The only
I
good part
don't know what
about
the
this,
answer is.
if we get radio service up there, and I
Yeah.
get a decent portable,
Yeah.
at least somebody in the north end of town would have some contact with the outside world.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Well,
only thing,
if your radios were working, your firefighters that live up there, you could always check in with them on a regular basis.
Yeah, I don't have anybody up past you though.
no,
No,
Really?
yeah, nobody past him.
maybe
And
we
that's
should
what
do
I
some
mean, we're-
recruiting.
we're up there in the north end of town, where there isn't a whole lot of services up there. I mean, we had a fire right across the street from my house, and Ian Alexander showed up there. He's looking at the fire, he picks up his radio to try to call dispatch. He can't talk to dispatch on his radio. He goes, picks up his cell phone, tries that don't work. So all we can do is sit there and watch his fire burn.
Yeah.
I mean,
The other thing of that is when we added that north station, most of the firefighters were out in the north end of town.
We have North End Fire, but just not past him, you know, the Dana Mill area.
But the station's past him, is my.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I understand.
Oh. But anyways, the best we can do is look into it and see if there's anything we can do to get, if we can get the landlines to work better, if they did a better job of backing up the landlines, at least that would be
Right.
some help.
I'm curious as to how many people still have landlines.
Well, I'm surprised that, to go with what Dale's saying, so we have coverage by the interstate, we have coverage by Route 1, right? That's, 127, these roads have become busy roads, and so.
Maybe we don't want people on cell phones driving their phones.
Well, no, I just mean though, at this day and age, though, you kind of think that at what point the service get filled in,
Yeah,
but.
yeah. I mean, I wonder, oh, go ahead, yeah.
You could ask.
I mean, they just put another tower in over by the Shaw Road, right?
Right, up on Clancy, yeah.
So that they're still putting towers in, but they don't put them on where some people think they need them at least.
Yeah.
It just, eventually it's gonna cost somebody their life.
Yeah.
So Chad wondered how many houses there are in town?
How many houses?
1,500, 14 and change?
We know when we do the mailing, oh, those are averages.
How can we do a survey to find out what each of these 1,400 residences have for landlines and cells? Can we ask the assessors that are doing the reassessment, just to ask people to find out? Because once you know of all these 1,400 people in different parts of town,
We can include.
how many don't have cell coverage? How many have landlines? And then you could take that information and go to Verizon and Circular Cellular and all these other, and then find out, who are your customers? What are you doing?
Right.
We've got a problem here, and maybe they might say, oh, that's no big deal, we'll just put another gizmo on top of tower number 37. They probably never even thought of this problem. If they don't care, then we go to a bigwig like Allison and put some pressure on it.
We're doing a mailing, a public safety mailing to every address in Woolwich, coming up later this month. We could include a
Excellent.
survey of
There you go.
sorts in that.
There you
The
go.
only reason I keep a landline is because I don't trust my cell phone.
Yeah.
Me too.
My cell phone's a Verizon, and I very seldom ever lose coverage. My wife has US Cellular, and she loses it quite often at our house.
So what would we want to know, whether people, what they have for phone service,
Yeah,
landlines, and if it's a cell, what company?
yeah, what company, if they have problems or not problems.
Is it adequate? Does it work?
Yeah.
Could we also add a line on that, asking people how many people have their own generator? No, I'm serious.
Everybody
That
will
would
have
be
their own
good to know.
generator.
I mean, they could, if we do that, then
You actually
we at least
right.
know who is in the most dire straits, right?
Yeah.
We lost power last week for 3.5 days, and I have no cell phone coverage, so I couldn't call Dale to find out what was going on. And we're 2 houses away.
Yep.
That's silly. In this day and age, that's silly.
Well, so you didn't have cell phone service because you live in that area that's lousy cell phone service, or because
Yes,
the storm? Okay.
yeah.
But you normally
Sometimes
don't-
I get it, sometimes I don't.
I know, okay.
Depends on the time of day. It'll say no service. I go all around the house and the yard. And I can't get it most of the time.
I've noticed recently, I have Verizon, and it's expensive, but it's always been spot on, no matter where I am, even when I'm out on the water, I've always been able to
Me
use
too,
my cell
yeah.
phone. But I've noticed in the last 6 or 8 months, they're not nearly as good as they used to be. I always used to, at my house, I always had 3-4 bars of phone service. Now I'm lucky if I have 2.
When
So
I'm
I
driving
think-
home, I have Verizon, and if I'm on my phone, it'll cut out right when I get
Game
towards,
over, game over.
yeah,
I don't top
Cut
down.
off.
boom, yeah.
Mine
Once you drop
cuts,
the hill,
Disconnects,
you're done.
yeah.
mine cuts out between your ponds and your shop every time. If I'm talking to somebody, I tell them, I'm gonna be off the air for about 30 seconds, and I'll be back in a minute, you know.
But isn't that a dead space when it's changing from one tower to another?
I don't know what.
Because I know there's a
But
lot of,
when
there's
you- when-
places when I'm driving, I'm like, there's a spot in gray
But when
that does it.
when you lose signal at Danville, you don't regain it though until, I don't know.
Yeah, you're in Dresden
Fort
somewhere.
Canada or something.
Right.
Jason, if you're plowing in a big storm,
Oh, yeah.
and you're between my house and Dale's house, and you go in the ditch,
Oh,
forget it, you'll be there forever.
I broke
They'll
down
find
one-
you.
I broke down one night at the Dresden turnaround, and I couldn't call anybody. Well, the only thing that works is you could sometimes text. Seriously,
Yeah.
texting sometimes goes through with
Yeah.
phone calls, well,
Yeah.
so you can, but I don't know.
That's a good point.
I think they'd measure after a couple of days.
Oh, yeah, they come once
They'd
before.
come, you know.
Well,
like
It
75
sounds to me like everybody's agreed there's a problem.
Oh, there's a problem.
So
Oh, yeah,
let's
there
see
is, and
what we
it's
can do
not
about
just,
it.
it's not unique to Woolwich either.
Right, exactly.
I mean, it is
Yeah.
statewide. I mean, there are a lot of places in this state where you just don't have cell phone
Right.
coverage.
But when everybody's running for political positions, like the governor and the president and all, one of the biggest things is communication. We gotta have communication. And once they get in office, it's the end of it. Nobody cares anything about it.
Okay. Jason?
All right, two things. So, you guys remember the Williams Cemetery situation up on the mountain road? So, I actually went to the gentleman's house. So, Mr. Jerome Bailey had wondered if the cemetery was on Nick Sewell's property
Yeah.
or if it was on the neighbor's property. So I went to the gentleman's house, I got his name right here. And he said that when he was closing on his house, which he bought recently, there was some information that came up about this cemetery. He does not know where it is. He's never found it.
Where the cemetery is?
Yeah, but it's on his property, and he has some information, he's gonna dig it out and get it to us, he's a very nice man. He has a map and so this may help that whole thing work its
So
way through.
would he be favorable to letting somebody
Yeah.
get in and just clean it up?
Yeah, we had a conversation about that, explained the law some, and what we understood, I did tell him that when he gets his information, we'd probably invite him to a meeting or workshop or something. So, anyway, that's getting worked on. The other thing is, if you remember the DOT agreement that we talked about at the last meeting about this whole thing that we
Yeah.
weren't really ready to sign yet.
Yeah.
He's coming down, so Doug Coombs is coming here next Thursday, a week from tomorrow at 10 a.m. And he's bringing a couple of other people, so whoever can come, road commissioner, select board, he's told me to invite whoever.
What's this for the?
It's for this 200-foot piece of road that they'll relocate. What I said was, we weren't totally comfortable just signing something without, can we meet on site, kind of walk it over? I think a lot of the things that were in that we'd already done.
Right.
But he said, absolutely, so we can, but he's also handling the light project, this project, so we might get some good
There's
information.
also, the culvert.
He's doing the 127 culvert projects, yeah.
What time is that?
10 o'clock on Thursday, the,
I won't be able to make it.
well, what day it is, I think, but it's,
Tomorrow's the 4th, so it'd
it's
be
the
the
11th.
11th.
The 11th, yeah, 11 to 10, he's got 1 hour budget, 10 to 11, he's bringing 2 or 3 other, which I don't recognize any of these other people, but he said to extend it, so.
I fell in knowing. I fell in not knowing.
So anyway, so mark that down,
I'll be there, I'll come.
Okay, is that it?
that's it.
I have nothing tonight. Public comments, now's the time to talk to us about anything that's not on the agenda. If it's not on the agenda, let's hear it.
You have a clock up here on this,
It's right twice a day.
okay. What kind of a signal are we sending to the rest of the world?
That's
When the town of Woolwich has a building with a clock on it, it doesn't work.
That clock does not belong to the town of Woolwich. That
I don't
clock-
care who it belongs to, it's not working, and we look like a bunch of
Well,
idiots.
let me finish. It does not belong to the town of Woolwich. It's an antique wooden geared clock that came out of a school in Augusta, and it belongs to the Maine State Historical Society. We have tried everything we can think of to make that thing work, and it gets dust from the road into the wooden gears. They have to be greased. And we've tried every kind of grease that every clock expert this side of the Mississippi has suggested. But the grease gets dirt in it and it stops. I suggested years ago that we give that back to the state we put they make a clockwork that would go up there that would have one electric motor and 3 jack shafts out to run the hands. And I thought I was gonna get tarred and feathered and run out of town because of that, because that was sacrilegious, because that clock, so many people in this town raised money to put that clock on the roof of this building, that it is sacred. So if you would
Why
like
don't
to
we get those
volunteer,
people to contribute to fix it?
if you would like to volunteer to climb up in that tower twice a day and grease that thing, we'd love to have you do it.
Guess what? I'm the oldest guy in this room, and I could probably do it, but I might fall down, okay?
Yeah.
You have to get trained by the fire
We
department.
need a young fireman to volunteer to do that. And we need to find those rich people in town that want to contribute so that that can happen. And I like your idea of the new mechanism.
I would be in favor of that, and
Let's do that, and take the next couple of years and raise money to do that, and tough banunies, if people don't wanna do it, too bad.
We have
That's
had,
my
over the
opinion.
years, we have had several volunteers. They've all meant well, and they've all gotten very sick of doing it after a short period of time. Because the money was raised through the Grange, and I remember the Chubbuck family was very influential with it. Morrison Doak, I believe, built the little tower, and I forget who supplied the crane to put it up there, but somebody volunteered a crane to put it up there and everything. So there was a lot of effort put in, and I was very much in favor of it until I found out that it wasn't. I always thought that was a clock out of a building here in Woolwich. You know, when I found out that number one, it didn't belong to us. Number two, it never belonged to us, and it came out of a school in Augusta. I couldn't see where there was any relevance to it being germane to the town of Woolwich, but,
No, we could take the guts out and put that in the barn of the historical for people to look at, and
Jack, you had a comment?
Probably a negative one, but in my opinion, it carries a lot of liability with people going up and down there, from what I understand.
Yep.
And I don't think we need to keep on taking that problem on. I think you have a good idea. Let's put a mechanical lock up there that works. Give that back to the people that belong to, and get it done.
I don't know how we get the thing out of there.
I don't
You know how we get it down out of there?
I think what we ought to do, so 2 things. Kim and I were going over some of the accounts, and we do have the old clock account. There is some CD money, if we're not mistaken, right?
Yep.
There is some funds, not big money, but there is some funds there. Maybe it's time to reach out, maybe Allison's a good resource with the state side.
I don't think it's the state, I think it's a nonprofit that, you think it came from the state of
It
Maine?
came from the state of Maine, was my understanding. It belongs to the State Historical Museum up there.
Do you remember, Debbie? Do you know?
I don't know exactly.
Do you know? I mean, what happened?
We must have a folder of that clock down in the office somewhere.
Where's your-
There was
I mean,
enough
Carol
time
Morse,
and effort
Carol
put
Morse
into
is
it.
the one that.
Yes, right, that was his dad, right?
Elliot would probably know. He would know who the clock
Okay.
belongs to. I'm pretty sure he would.
I'll ask
Yeah, let's find out.
Give us a little time, because the other thing we did, do you remember, what was the name of the family, Debbie, or do you remember too, was it the
Yeah.
Bells, or you remember the Bells family? What was the name of their family?
Yeah.
Belzer or something
Yeah,
like that.
the Clock family that
In
comes.
Freeport.
Right, and they came over and they were the ones that gave us the grease that was
Right.
supposed to keep the thing going and everything, but, I mean, Gaius,
And
Todd
Tyler Wonky.
Tyler Wonky,
McPhee, Tyler,
yeah.
Wonky, everybody has tried to make that thing run and has given up. The other thing is quite often when it does run, the 3 faces don't match. Because one will be 5 minutes ahead of the other, and then the third one will be 5 minutes behind, and, you know, I mean.
That would make us look stupid, wouldn't it?
Well, the other thing is we remember too is temperature.
Well, that's
And-
it.
The temperature,
It doesn't run in
Ice.
the winter. It will not run in the
right,
winter.
you can't run it when it's 0 degrees, it won't.
I don't run very well in the winter either.
But what we might,
Neither do I.
give us some time and we'll do some
I
research.
mean, maybe that's a stupid idea, I don't know, but it seems to me that everybody driving up and down Route 1 is looking, oh, there's a town hall. But
They try to look at the
never
time on the
works.
sign.
What a bunch of idiots live in this town, they can't fix the damn clock, you know.
I've
like
been
a-
asked about that.
It's a
clock.
signal that says stupid people or something.
Wow, I'm so glad I work here.
I've been asked about that clock at least 100 times, and I always tell everybody the same thing, it's right twice a day.
Chad, we're trying to retain our employees.
It's kind of rude, isn't it?
I think we'll do a little bit of research.
Now, I bet you I can get Opal to help me with that.
Oh, yeah, local, yeah.
Check things out.
Good luck.
I'll tell you what, I've been up that tower once, I have no intention of going
Should be
again.
the first one.
I took a little
to
tour,
work.
halfway up it, as far as I went.
I have no intention of going up that tower again, ever.
It's skinny guy fit up through there.
Excuse me, have you all watched the video that we took when that tower went up?
That would provide some information.
Carol discusses the mechanics of how they got the clock, how it was donated and everything. It's right on the video.
How would we
Have you
find,
still got the video?
Of course.
Oh, yeah, he's got-
Tommy's about to put it on YouTube, aren't you, Tommy?
that would be great, because that might provide a lot
Yeah,
of
we-
information.
When we leave tonight, Tommy, we'll go down and we'll get that video. You can put it on YouTube.
I'm just wondering, yeah, how we would get the thing down out of there.
The clock was in the tower before the tower went on the building.
Somebody put it
Yeah,
out.
take
Okay.
the top off the tower, lift the guts out and set them down.
Right, because it was put up all assembled, right?
I mean, the faces could stay there. I don't know
Oh,
why we
right.
couldn't put in a mechanical clock with plastic arms
Yeah.
that look like they're from the 1800s, and everybody would be happy. I think if we did it without a lot of fanfare, nobody knew we did it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks to video.
They will now.
Yeah, they will now.
But anyways,
That's a great idea.
all right,
Thank you.
we're gonna move on to the town administrator's report.
To be honest, I really don't have anything. I don't,
Quiet week.
it's been a busy week, just
Yeah.
with the, the short weeks and everybody's on vacation and on screech and.
Do you want to quickly relay the workers' comp?
Sure, I can. I didn't bring the
No, that's
information up, but I showed Jason. So we got our workman's comp for the year, which has gone up roughly about $1,400.
Thousand.
Oh, so did I say $14,000, yes. So that was a big, our first payment was $20,000.
We're right around 50 grand now for workers'
Yeah.
comp for this
Yeah.
year. She just paid 20.
The reason for that is because the rate has gone up, or because we've used it more often, or?
Yep,
Two things, David. The rate goes up in relation to.
Cost of living, yeah.
No, but it goes up
Yes.
in relation to claims, but then also our payrolls go up.
our payroll,
So
yes.
remember, it's tied to payroll, so every time payroll goes up, it's not so much off, we went over this when we did budgeting, right? Not so much off as fire EMS. We had some stuff a few years ago, or a couple of years ago, but
Right.
it is,
And I believe when Kyle was here, he said it stays on there for like 3 years?
it should be three, it should be, but
The
if,
claims?
yeah, it should be 3 years, as long as we don't have any more. You know?
Right.
I don't know if, did you ever get hooked up, Sean, did you ever get hooked up with the individual? I thought we were talking about the guy. Remember the fellow I talked to from the insurance
Was
company?
Kyle, yes,
Yeah, he's Kyle.
yeah.
Okay, you guys,
Yeah, they ended up
because
getting-
anything we can do to help,
Yeah.
Maybe we should consider capping the number of employees.
well, it's definitely, we have to be careful. Because
Yes, it's definitely based off of payroll.
in this year, real quickly, it's just like payroll, and I know it's not your fault, but when payroll goes over, that exceeds what we budgeted. So,
Yeah. And it depends, because it depends on like a firefighter at EMS is a different grade, so that's gonna get, and the way they do it, and I've reached out to MMA, trying to have them explain it to me, because they combine the EMS with the fire, if they have dual positions, if they're a firefighter or EMS, they roll everybody into fire,
which is the higher
which is
category.
the higher category.
They always, they do that,
So that's where we get dinged,
yeah.
so.
That's not good news, though. No.
My
All right.
brother's there.
Did you have something?
No, I was just gonna suggest, I know even out of the world, that Tammy has to keep it separated, truck drivers versus laborers versus, I mean, is that possible?
We do that here, Dan, but what happens is, like Kim said, it's just like what they do with us, if you have so much in the pipeline category, that's the highest rate, you get thrown that, you know how they do that.
They're gonna throw it in the highest rate.
So a firefighter, that's a driver, or, they just keep throwing rates. We went over it with them, and it's,
Every business plays that, every organization plays that. I mean, back when I had my Napa stores, that's why I ran the machine shop, because where I was an owner, I could exempt myself from
workers' comp, yeah.
workers' comp,
Yeah.
because that was the highest thing we paid, was the machine shop. The least we paid for was the clerks behind the counter. So I tried to make as many people clerks as possible, but once they switched to another position, you know,
And just, I was randomly selected by the Maine Department of Labor to participate in keeping track of the fire department's workman's comp.
I think that was random, right?
Congratulations.
I got a letter that said, you've randomly been
Yeah.
selected
Random.
to
I bet it
keep
was
track
random. Yeah, I bet it was
of the
random.
Woolwich Fire Department.
Yeah.
I'm like,
just like
John.
our random,
Yeah,
our random thing
Yeah.
last summer,
I
right?
bet it was random.
Yeah.
There's something behind that. All right, we're gonna move on. Road Commissioner?
Well, really have much, we had quite a wind, quite a blow. A lot of good help from all these good people. And we probably survived as good, if not as good as most other towns. We all had our little problems with power outages and so on. But I don't know, I'm just listening to this communication thing. I'm not sure there's always 100% fix for everything. And it's just like the trees down. We do the best we can do when they got power lines in them. We can't move them, we can't cut them, we can't do that, so that's a block. So I don't know, but I guess we suffered through as well as we could do.
Sean, didn't you tell me, didn't we have a conversation about this last storm where it's, is there gonna be some county participation? Or
FEMA's here right
FEMA?
now. FEMA's in the state right
So-
now. They've already
so-
started surveying, but we're not, I mean, we get hit, but we didn't get hit nearly like some counties did, so
I know.
Yeah.
we'll get there at some point. But everything, I submitted everything for us for the town.
But if we folded what Jack and his crew.
Yeah, I submitted that, I've added that, yeah.
Okay, you've got
Yeah.
it, okay.
Did you add on the new roof for the fire station?
How about cell phone towers?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Anybody got any questions for Jack?
No, I was just gonna say thank you, Jack, and your road crew, and also Sean Fire for the amazing work that you did during the storm. I was watching it from afar, but I was watching lots of videos and reading lots of comments, and you
We
did a
as
great
well
job.
was watching you.
Oh, I'm sure you were.
I like to second what Allison said, because I saw some of the work that was done by you guys.
Well, it was,
Did a good job.
It's always been a good collection of help from fire people and even just some residents even help, and that's what makes us
Some
work.
residents complained, I'll tell you that
We
story.
didn't have a lot.
Yeah.
We didn't have a
I
lot.
think everybody-
Power outage, yeah.
I think everybody involved did as good a job as they could possibly do.
Yeah.
I spent 2 days bouncing from generator to generator, both here and back, keeping them running for people and everything, and it just, you know, I mean, it's what you do.
But you guys probably don't know that one of the selectmen in my neighborhood during a storm like this personally goes from house to house to check to see if everybody's generator is working and they're okay. I think that's a great service.
Well, yeah.
It's not you.
Dale does a good job at
Yeah,
that.
that's who I'm talking about.
And David does an awful lot of that.
Sometimes Dale tries to sneak in my road in my driveway without letting me know, just to check to see if my generator's working. Then he pulls out real quick.
But usually they set so long when I need them, they don't.
Okay, all right, but that's good to know.
Okay, we're gonna move on. Nothing from Chris?
No, he's on vacation.
I know he's out of state.
Mhm.
EMS, we do have a report from EMS. Woolwich EMS responded to 34 calls in December. 22 of those were in the last 2 weeks of the month. Testament to our crews who worked very hard and had put in extra hours over the holiday season. We've already responded to 3 calls in January. I'm working on going through the paperwork for 2023 for an accurate total number of calls, patients transported, etc. But our current working number of calls is 363 in the calendar year, and expect it to be higher once the paperwork is reconciled. Our fiscal year estimate to date is 190 calls. Our mileage billing rate change was implemented before July 1st of January, and all our billing rates are now in line with the numbers provided by the town. We continue to interview and hire staff we'll continue to find ways to attract new members to our ranks, keeping in mind workman's comp. Okay, fire chief's report, Sean.
I just want to second Jack and thank his folks for helping with the storm and everything. It's always a good team effort. We ended 2023 with the highest on record for this fire department for Town of Woolwich with 229 calls. That's 58 calls more than last year. Just the storm was 23 calls. So.
That calendar year?
Yeah, that's calendar year. So that's a 34% increase over last year in call volume. We're an increasingly busier town. I contribute a lot of that, I think, to the roads. I think a lot of that's traffic accidents, things like that. So we have an accident. Last week we had an accident every 16 hours. We had an accident.
And that was not storm related?
No, that was not storm related.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you see Route 1 as being the biggest?
Route 1 is big. And Middle Road. Route 1 and Middle Road. Especially.
Pass that along to DOT.
I will pass that along to the OT.
Yeah.
Meadow Road, right?
Middle.
But Meadow also, isn't that a frequent?
Not nearly as bad as the Route 1. Route 1 is the worst. But, last meeting I mentioned the air compressor downstairs. The technicians came, they've gone through a few things. They've reached out to the manufacturer company of our compressor, waiting to hear back on them as far as the next plan of action. But they think they have a plan figured out as far as what they need to replace on it. He told me I said, what's the longevity of that unit? And I get mixed. The last technician that looked at it last year said it's time to start looking at replacing it. This one told me, he said, I'd say another 5 years. It's a 2006. Doesn't have any hours. It's got 206 hours on it. So I mean, I know they have the fire tax and safety has a compressor that has 4,000 hours on it, but it gets used every day. That one sits for 4 or 5 weeks, and then we use it for 8 hours at a time. But when we need it, we need it. It's one of those things.
Maybe it'd pay to have somebody run it once a week, just for the sake of running it.
Yeah, good. So anyway, waiting on hear that, get that fixed, and that is really all I have. No major issues downstairs. So.
As far as fire calls go, Sean, I think we can all argue about the cause, but we can't argue about the fact that the climate's changing, and I think these storms are gonna continue.
Yeah,
So I think in the future, we're gonna have to look into planning ahead for that somehow, to, make sure that we have enough resources and everything.
And that's what that resilience grant program is all about. And, Sean, if you want to get plugged into that whole process the next time you do a grant, like if you could think of things like equipment or training or infrastructural changes or whatever, that is something that we can apply for grants for.
Thank heavens we didn't take the thumping that Oxford County took.
Oh,
I mean, they lost whole roads, they lost culverts, bridges, I mean, downtowns were flooded.
Temporary bridge in Farmington Falls went out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Oxford County really took the brunt of that storm, so.
And some fire departments and whatnot got wiped out too.
Hey, Sean, would EMA have a little pull with this cell phone thing?
We don't have any EMA director right now. There's no county director yet. So.
Well, yeah, no.
Yeah.
When's the new guy coming?
February. But maybe. I don't know. We'll see how he turns out. It could. I mean, if utilized correctly, there's a lot of things the EMA can do for us. A lot of things. But hopefully we'll see.
Do your radios, your communication radios keep working during a storm like that?
Yeah.
I mean, how often do you lose those?
Yeah, we've, knock on wood, with the storm that we had, the county system that we had, the existing county system did really well. I was actually very impressed.
How much does an extra radio cost?
A portable?
Yeah.
$1,600. That's what they cost.
Maybe it pays to pay $1,600 to get Dale a radio.
But that's just a portable. That's from Dale's house. The portable is next to useless.
Okay.
And it's
Scratch
because
that
of the
out.
area.
Yeah. In 2 years' time, when we have all the towers up and the new system's done, I'll be able to stay in your driveway and talk to Augusta. Easily. I guarantee you that.
Right. It would- yeah.
But with the current system, it has to be truck radio, it has to be mobile radio, so the mobile that's mounted in the truck or in my vehicle or whatever. That's the key. And our guys, we're really good at knowing where we can and can't talk on the radio, so, I mean, they pretty much know anytime you pass the power lines in the middle road, you better get on your mobile in the truck.
We don't have any of those old Maine Yankee sirens kicking around.
No, it would appear logically that if you got,
I mean, those could be heard for like 12
Oh, yeah.
miles.
Yeah.
I mean, if we,
Oh, yeah.
if we could put a siren up there.
I'm trying to warn them, David, not staring there.
Air raid siren. No, it would appear that the major cell providers, if somebody, the government, I said government, the state, somebody could get them together and say, look, we have these problems. And granted, it's only, 150, 250 homes or whatever in certain areas. This area has been an ongoing major problem. We all know it, you know it, Sean, your parents live up there. It would be nice to say, like, what is the solution someday, or what's coming down the highway?
Or what's the?
Yeah, I mean, we all know there's satellite service, right? There's satellite cell service, but is there any way that, there's gotta be some new technology that somewhere helps,
Who knows?
yeah.
I mean, a few years ago, we had a meeting with somebody from the cell phone services, and they told us that there was no sense to put up any more towers because everybody was gonna use satellite phones.
Right.
And
Yeah.
where's that?
They also told us that we're all gonna have flying cars.
We'll probably have those first.
All right, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to old business and discuss the roof.
Which actually, yeah,
Sorry.
Tommy, you brought that up.
Sorry, I buried the lead.
Yeah.
What's that?
You already talked about it.
These
Yes.
are, they're submitted to the Kim, right?
Yes, so, in last meeting, Tommy was gonna go through and find his, information from when he had his work done, and so that's what he has submitted. So I'm gonna take that information and put it into the RFP that we have, and then I figured the next meeting, we can go over the new RFP with the new information and,
When they do the roof, can you, I don't know if this is something to tack on or just when they're here, but can they do the gutters while they're there? And at least get them all fixed and running so they're not spewing water. The last storm we had, Jesus, the ice that was up there.
Be nice if the fire department climbed up on their ladders and cleaned the outlets and all that.
No, there's no pipe, the pipes are missing. There's
Oh, the
the
pipes
downspout, the downspout, everyone look at it, the
Downspouts are
downspouts.
missing?
The downspouts that connect the gutter down to the pipe, there's nothing there on the corner.
I don't know.
But we gotta be careful of that, because we can't add any more water.
No, I know, but that's why I said if you can add it to your thing, and probably we gotta do it,
If
but.
you guys recall, we can't, the downspouts going into the ones that go in the ground, we don't wanna add more water to any drainage that we don't know about. But you're right, there's some that are missing.
Downspout out and just pointed it out.
Pointed on the
Right.
asphalt.
Right, one of the ideas we talked about one time is the building seems like it's long, but it's not that long to double it and bring it to the far end.
Yeah.
To get the water away from the building,
Is that in that ditch between the historical
Yeah,
society?
but there's a culvert down there that
Yeah.
crosses the road, but obviously all that. So noted.
Anybody have any other old business? Okay. I had a call from a gentleman that runs an oyster farm here in Woolwich, and he wants to add to it, and I had him call you. Did he call you today? Luke Sandon, he would like to be on our agenda for our next meeting. He has an oyster farm that's over by Oak Island.
Yeah, I've
He
seen it.
actually does a heck of a nice job.
Yeah.
He's nowhere near the channel, he's nowhere near the flats. He's an engineer, and he made this floating barge-like thing.
Yeah, have you
And
seen
he
it?
grows all the oysters right
Yeah,
off
yeah.
that. Full disclosure, I set all his moorings for him and everything, so but anyways, he would like to come to us, and he's gonna invite Dan Harrington and his crew to come in too. And he'd like to just speak to us and show us what he does and see if we will support him expanding. He would like to add a second unit down there.
Are we gonna put him, ahead of the meeting, or are we going
No,
to?
we'll put him on somewhere in the meeting. We'll just do it under new business. or
Okay.
something. So, And he's a heck of a nice young fellow, and he's a hard worker, and
So he's already up and running, but he wants to expand?
he wants to expand, yeah.
But that's,
What's that,
What's that
that's
got to do with
a,
us?
is that a state issue?
yeah.
It is a state issue, but if he can get our blessing, it makes it go through a lot faster.
No, I wouldn't say faster, but,
Not
more smoothly,
faster,
you're right.
But it's smooth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But, and, he's in an area where there's very little, I don't think anybody lobsters in that area. And he's
No.
far enough from shore that it won't affect the diggers, and,
Yeah.
you know, so he.
No, it seems like a good
He's right
area.
down on the end of the island, right where you turn to go up into
Yeah.
the creek to go up to your place, he's
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I've seen it.
where he does it with those floating barges, they're pretty unique the way he does it.
Yeah.
And,
I'd like to see it. I would encourage a field trip.
he made his own plow anchor moorings, and I set 6 of them for him last year. And it was all I could do. I mean, these things were huge. And he made them all out of steel. They looked just like a regular plow anchor, only they were 6 feet wide. And to get 6 of those on my barge at one time was quite a feat. But we managed to do it. We got them all set in place for him, and he's happy. But he would like to expand. So he was supposed to call you today, so he's probably.
He might have called Opal and I
Yep.
haven't heard anything.
Other than that, I have nothing on the new business.
Oh,
Does anybody else have anything to come before the
I
board?
do, but.
Have you heard from Frank, or has he been back?
I did talk to him today,
Okay.
so he's making progress.
Good.
He knows what you need.
Okay.
He's got one more thing, he's got a thing for Kim. I sent him pictures, I communicated directly with him today, and I said, do as soon as fast as quick as you can.
Okay. No,
I
that's
know.
fine. I didn't want to call
I
him,
mean,
you'd already talked.
It's really tricky right
Yeah,
now.
I know, yeah,
I'm not trying to make excuses, but.
yeah.
So I heard from a couple of constituents before Christmas, about changes, any possible changes to town meetings. What the question is, can we have an open town meeting, but then also allow absentee voting on it? And so I said I would bring it to the board and see, have a discussion about it, so.
Okay, so real quickly, you know how I feel, we talked about this, right? So me personally, I don't think we're allowed to do that. We have an open style town meeting, I think the attorney has said before that you can't, how could you vote absentee on things that have to be debated and they could be amended? So we may, vote to raise and appropriate $10 million and it's amended down to $3 million and you voted one way because it was written one way. So I think we've been told before that.
Yeah, I can't see how that would work. I think we've had the advice of the town lawyer a couple of times that there's just no way to do that.
What we would have to do is
Unless-
change it to Wisconsin.
Unless we went
Yeah.
to the same thing
Okay.
that
Yeah,
Wisconsin
charter.
does, where we just put it out as yes or no, and I don't wanna do that.
Yeah.
I still believe that the open town meeting is the most, it's the purest form of democracy left in this country, and I hate to see it change.
So to be clear, they weren't arguing to get rid of that, they just wanted to be able to expand on it to include more votes on it. I said I would bring it here, I agree with you, I think that's and I think the point is to sort of expand
Tell them
participation.
that we have plenty of seats.
Yeah. So
So I guess to follow up with that, do you mind if I just sort of contact Kristen and just sort of get something in writing, just so it's not just, I remember this, or whatever?
Call MMA, they're a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
It might be in
That,
our,
yeah.
it might be in our books downstairs.
Okay, and then the other thing is, if there were people who were interested in switching to Wisconsin's form, how would they go about doing that? Would that require a petition?
it would require a petition, but you're gonna ask MMA that too.
Okay,
What we were told before is.
You have to pass at a town meeting, to an open town meeting.
Right, it would take
Okay.
a petition,
Okay.
it would take some public hearings, it would also have to pass at town meeting, like David said, the current form of town meeting.
Yeah.
Then it would be debated as to the pros and cons. Now, we all know, and you and I have talked about this too, and I know you're not in favor of this, the disadvantage, Wisconsin style of voting, I'll call it referendum style voting or secret ballot, or whatever you wanna call it, you go in and you vote, nothing can be changed. So you decide to not fund the fire department at $200,000, so then the next day, the select board has to put together another budget, have another town meeting, do it all over again, drop it by.
oh yeah, I don't
No,
disagree,
no,
yeah,
If you
yeah.
look, the last time Wisconsin had their town meeting, they did it 3 or 4 times.
Do you remember the police department year, they did it like four times, $500 a whack?
They kept bouncing it back and forth, and that's the thing, I mean, like Jason just said, if Sean's budget, if he comes in with a budget of $2 million, and somebody stands up at town meeting and says, I don't spend $2 million, I only want to spend 1.5. That can be debated right there, and it can be changed. But if it's a yes or no thing, you either vote yes or no. And if you
Don't
vote
disagree.
no, people don't know whether you voted no because you thought it wasn't enough, or if you voted no because you thought it was too much.
That's right.
But at town meeting, you can make that argument.
So, I might write, because I don't have my account with MMA, I can't find my password or whatever, so can I work with you to sort of send it to legal, or maybe you can
You
get.
can just call, I
Okay.
mean, you.
Oh, okay.
You have an
Call them,
800
you have to
number.
call legal,
Okay,
and then
You
you just
yourself-
leave a message and they'll call you back.
Yeah,
okay,
and then
You
you
can
can
already
send
in
your
touch
email.
right away.
okay,
Yeah.
good, okay.
Use your cell phone.
So I think there's one last thing.
Okay.
We all saw the letter in the file from the YMCA, right?
Yes,
So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so did we all see that? There was a request letter in the file, and it's, they're gonna ask $10,000, I guess. I just wondered, we talked about these kind of things before, and although, I know it's a great service, it's a great idea, and maybe well supported, but me personally, I'm of the mindset that there needs to be a supportive petition.
I think they should have to go out and
Um,
circulate a petition and get the same number of signatures that anybody else asking for that kind of money would have to get.
Yeah, I mean, I went back and forth and out of my head, and because the YMCA did that in order to get considered for the $500 that we give them every year, but I'm persuaded that this is a different project, this is a capital campaign, this is something different, and therefore I support that idea.
Yeah, I think people in town should be able to weigh in whether or not this is something that their $10,000 benefits the town of Woolwich per se.
Well, and getting was it 50 signatures
Yeah, whatever the policy we
requires
have, yeah.
buy-in. right?
Well, yeah, and obviously they can get them quite quickly, easily.
Yes,
We-
yeah, I know, all they have to do is state the why.
Right, we have to, in my opinion, my position on these things is we as the board decide what goes on the warrant to the people. So this gives us support and defendability, not that we don't think it's good or bad or whatever, but it gives us defendability for the next
And it
organization.
also strengthens their own argument,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, I'm not weighing in either pro or con on it.
That's
But
right.
I agree with Jason, because this is what we've required everybody else to do. I don't think we should make exceptions.
So in the letter, if you saw it, they're willing to come speak with us, this, that, and the other, and I don't know if we
do you
want
want
to.
me to just send out a notice to them and tell them that if, that's what the procedure's gonna be, that they need to get a petition and what the protocol is?
Does it sound good? Yeah, there's no just to meet and say, here.
Right,
And if
exactly.
they ask why, and if they ask, or state that they're already, part of our regular system, you can just explain that it's a different,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
a
the-
different it's a different,
It's a
Program.
different, it's a different proposal on their part, and they're gonna use the money in a different way.
It's a one-time funding.
It's a one-time
thing.
and it's a
Yeah,
one-time thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it is 50,
I forgot
right? Do you
about
remember, is it 50? I can't remember.
I think it's 50 signatures, the policy, there'd be.
For the last gubernatorial, it was like 65.
No, this is,
Okay.
I don't know
Well,
that
so
it was
it was a
based on
separate
that.
policy, right,
It's a
Jason?
separate policy,
Yeah, I don't.
which I think was just 50
50?
signatures.
Okay,
You could look it up.
yeah, I'll look and see.
Sorry about that, Kim, we have to look that one up.
It's a
It's
donation.
a donation
That is-
policy.
This was my very first
Okay.
action as a
Is that what it's called, the donation?
I think it's a
policy?
donation
Donation
policy.
policy, yeah. we have
Okay,
Yeah.
I
So-
will look in and I will send them the information on it.
At this point, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
So I just wanted to say, is everybody liking the